Welcome to a new series. This is the Game Development Library series. In this series, I'll be building a suite of tools that I can use and that others can use to help make the process of game development and design a little bit more fluid and much faster. The idea is to build a bunch of tools that I find myself and others constantly rebuilding so that when I want to design a new game or a new idea, I don't have to go through the same process of building these same tools over and over again. What this is going to be is a location displayer. So obviously this will have some sort of input and we want to display the location. An example use case of this would be the position of this tag, for example. We can see this tag has a spot in the real world, and a lot of times I find myself wanting to know where that tag is. So having something already built that I can just plug anything I want in so I can see it would be nice to have so that I don't have to build this over and over again. So this node is going to connect to a splitter. Now, as we know, the splitter, you can't choose which type it is by default. It has to receive a wire compared to the combiner, which you can set anything you want. However, we do have this fat wire type, which outputs some sort of data. So let's go ahead and take a look. This would be a transform splitter, and we can take a look and see what this fat wire type is. If I plug this fat wire type into a value slider, we can see that it's set to the value of 4. For this use case, all we're really concerned with are the transform value of this and the 3 number value, so 7. Since I want to be able to plug either a transform or a position into this chip, I'll just take that into account. So it's either going to be a value of 4 or it's going to be a value of 7. So if I take a signal manipulator, we can remap this so that the lower threshold is 4 and the upper threshold is 7. So I've remapped this so that 4 goes to 0 and 7 goes to 1. So we can see that the transform sets this to 0 and the 3 numbers set this to 1. The reason I'm doing this is so that we can use a selector, and we can use this selector to determine what action needs to happen with this fat wire. Obviously we're going to want to display these, so I'll get some number displayers out and set those up really quickly. What I'll do is I'll move this down. Now I can look at the first one, see that that looks correct, and now I can move the third one down below that. Now we can set all 3 of these to have the same style, so I'll go ahead and give it decimal places. I'll get rid of these. I'll set them to be horizontally aligned to the left, and I'll make them easier to look at. So we need to have something being plugged into these, right? So if we have a transform coming in, that'll be port A, but if we have a 3 numbers, that'll be port B. So on port B, we only need to split this wire once into all of these things. So if I pass the signal into B and A as well and set pass through on, that means that the fat wire will actually be passed through port B. So if I took a splitter now off of port B, we should get 3 numbers. So we can see that if we pass through, the fat wire goes all the way through the selector instead of just an on value. So now we have 3 numbers here. So for example, if I were to take this splitter here and pass just the position in, we can see the value passes through the selector and into the splitter. So that's good. Now what if we wanted to pass the whole thing through? Well, then we have a different solution, because now it's going through port A. So now we can see that through port A, this gets passed in, and now we can take a look and see how this works. One other thing I'd like to do is have some sort of toggle in here for showing decimals. So this will set the decimal place, and by default they'll be off, like that. And so if this is on, then it'll show the decimals. So I'll change the color of this and the icon, and now we have this location displayer. So now when we're building something, we can pass the scene space transform directly in, and that will work. Or say we had some other situation where we just had 3 numbers, we could display those. Now in the future, when I want to display a location, all I have to do is get this chip out and plug whatever I want straight into this wire. And I'll go ahead and name this. Named it transform or position fat wire. And I'll go ahead and give it that little symbol. Now it's very clear what I'm plugging in. And say I had 2 of these. Because of the way I set this up, I can just grab this and move it to the right side of the screen. And now I have 2 of them working together. So if I had a tag over here and another one over here, I could just plug this one into here and this one into here. I'll go ahead and save this and release it as public so that if anyone wants to use it, they can. I hope this was helpful and maybe inspires you to create some tools like this for yourself and for others. I hope you're doing well, staying safe, and I'll see you next time.